All right, I think we're ready. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
One of the greatest gifts that we can give another person is to show up, to remove all distraction, to carve out that time, to hold that space to sit next to them and let them know how much they matter. To be that calming force to say, tell me your story, I'm listening. Each one of you has done that tonight, online and in person. You have shown up. You've removed all distraction. You've carved out this time tonight because you too know that all of our children matter. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm Heather Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Council for Children's Rights, and we have a story to tell you tonight of our community, of our children, and of our family of advocates. And I am very excited to introduce you to this very special person that's sitting next to me, Hasan. I'm sure many of you know her. She is a very powerful, courageous, and caring storyteller and spoken word poet. She is a fierce social justice activist and a gift to this community and to us. And I cannot think of anyone more suited to tell the stories that we need to tell tonight than Hannah. And I can't wait for you all to experience her gift. But before we get started, there's a few people that I want to thank. So first, I would like to thank our sponsors. You have made this night possible for us. And after this night, we actually have a 2-week campaign with other events, and they've made that possible too. So thank you very much to all of our sponsors. To our board of directors and our hundreds of volunteers, thank you for ensuring our community is safe for our children. Thank you to Biddy and Bose, who were here tonight with the coffee and muffins, for joining us and providing opportunities for young adults with disabilities in this community. For the Children and Family Service Center, who allowed us to gather in this space tonight and creates this entire building for children and families to come to find help. And last, to Bank of America and Wells Fargo Duke Energy Center. They both have committed to lighting up their buildings tonight for us in honor of our children and keeping them safe from harm. Very exciting. Yes. So our story begins tonight with this community. Over 40 years ago, much like today, this city was struggling to address critical issues: a lack of resources and safe spaces for children, a need to disrupt systems deeply embedded with racial discrimination that impacted opportunities for children, a realization that the most marginalized people were often the youngest, that too many children were falling through the cracks, that the safety, health, education, and well-being of all children were being threatened. To address these critical issues, a small group of deeply committed Charlotteans formed what is now the Council for Children's Rights, a social justice organization focusing solely on child advocacy. Forming this agency was an intentional response to break the silence, break the barriers, and speak out against what was happening then and what still exists today. And in the 40 years since, every one of you joining us tonight, in person and online, continues our story by demanding that this community will be different, sharing in the belief that our children are our greatest hope, and standing together to fiercely protect them. Today, we commit again to this call of action to reinforce our commitment to help children in crisis. Hannah, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So excited that you are here.
I'm glad to be here.
So one of the very first poems that I heard you recite was Charlotte is Beautiful, which you will all hear tonight. It reminded me so deeply of this fight to make Charlotte different for our children and the work that we all can do to create hope in this city. Would you mind sharing your journey in the poem with us?
Yeah, first of all, I'm so excited to be here. Yeah. I'm going to command that you all share this space with me tonight. So, I mean, I know everybody looks nice and is dressed up and all that good stuff, but this is art, so we're gonna share. It's like this give and take that we're gonna have with each other, all right? Okay, now that we got that out of the way. The piece. So I was at some other event at Camp North End, and a pastor from our community, James Howell, came up to me and asked me, he said, I'm working on this project, and I think it was through the church. He's Myers Park Baptist or Presbyterian or one of the Myers Park churches. He's the pastor of that. And he said, we're asking people from our community, especially those who sort of are working in the community, what makes Charlotte beautiful to them? And will you do a quick interview with me? It's just a quick, I'll record you saying what makes it beautiful, and then we'll go on our way. And I was like, I will, but I would like to answer that in poetry. I was like, I can do a little short poem, that's fine. But he was like, oh, okay, of course you would. And he said, so he came over to my home I had a very short poem for him to hear and for him to record. And we did the recording, and he was like, oh, wow, that was great. And he said, it's interesting the take that you took on it, because when I asked the mayor and some other folks, one thing that came up often when I asked them what made Charlotte beautiful was the tree canopy. And I was like, yeah, the tree canopy is great for those who get to experience it. Right? And Charlotte is beautiful, but also I look at beauty as a complicated thing sometimes, right? So I look in the mirror and put on makeup and feel beautiful once I've got all made up. And sometimes when I'm just at home chilling with nothing on, I still feel beautiful, right? I'm the same person. But there's levels to beauty. That's right? And so I told him, before I even wrote the short poem, I'm not going to just give you the shiny things, because our beauty is a little complicated. And after I wrote that poem, he asked me if they decided to turn it into this series, this community series where they would invite speakers and that type of thing. And it was one of the first events that I went to in 2020. It's the last event the last big speaking engagement that I had before the world shut down. And I extended the poem to write this that I'll share tonight. And I'll share with you all, for me, it was such a challenging night because, so my brother surprisingly, tragically passed away November of 2019. And I was really nervous to be in community again. I just felt like, I don't know how to explain it, but I was gonna have some mark on me of people knowing, because I'm public with my things, that you just experienced this tragedy, now we're gonna wanna hug you and all those things, and I didn't want that. I was so nervous to be there that night. And I came in, and I was also nervous to share this piece, because I didn't wanna bring the temperature down. Charlotte is beautiful, but we got some things to talk about. Yep. And it was one of the most beautiful nights I've had. So, Charlotte, we come in, we feel each other in the ways that we need to, right? Right. So this is the piece. I'm happy to share it with you all tonight. I have spent many a day questioning her future, calling her out and calling her in. I have publicly challenged her choices, criticized her politically, charged her to do better. We have a complicated relationship, and ultimately it's because I love her and I want her to win. I believe in her. I believe in the possibility of what she can become. She is beautiful now, but that beauty is often a mirage. She is powerful to many, but with those within her inner circle acknowledge the facade. Know what's beneath the surface, in the ground, her roots. We see her secrets, and yet we still love her despite the difficulties of her truth. For she is our Charlotte, the city that has opened herself to give us the place that we call home. We have found a sanctuary within her borders. This is where we build our legacies and our memories, where we deepen our connections and find spaces to grow and belong. And because she is ours, we have earned the right to challenge her. and demand her growth. Because she belongs to us, we will hold her to higher standards. We want a city that raises the bar and breaks the mold, opens its arms with opportunity and hope. Create spaces for the most vulnerable within her city to heal and cope. And there is no denying that there is an abundance of love here, an overpowering belief in the future of this place. There are people who make it easy to love here, people who have opened their homes and their hearts, people who continuously hold and keep space. For this is our city, the place that we will keep fighting for, the place that we will continue to build. This is our city, home to some of the most beautiful and interesting spaces, a city that makes you feel hope, a city that encourages you to dream, a city that is promising and passionate, a city that gives you space to believe. And that's how love works. That's what loving Charlotte means. It's examining the truth of her history and working towards an uplifting legacy. That is where we see her light, and that is where we see her beauty. It is nestled in the details. It's hidden in the open spaces. It's seen in the nighttime, that beautiful skyline. It is within those who have given to her for multiple generations. Those who have lived here because they've had no choice but to live here. For how can we discuss the beautiful of Charlotte and not talk about her natives and the ancestors and elders who have built a foundation? For a city that honors where she has grown from is a city prepared for future greatness. And as for me, I only want to live in a city, grow and build in a city, work and love in a city that is willing to do the absolute most to ensure that all living here are living up to their God-given potential. I only want to claim a city, stamp me and my family's last name to a city that chases freedom and equality in a way that is monumental. Our Charlotte, a city of opportunity, booming with creativity and everything that it takes to take things to the next level, with an abundance of raw talent and all of these people with fresh concepts and new ideas of imaginative work to be done. Charlotte is beautiful. Yes, she's so very beautiful, not solely for what she is or has been, but Charlotte is beautiful for who she is destined to become.
So beautiful, Hannah.
Thank you.
So our story continues with our children. Their story starts long before we meet them. When we become part of their story, it's when custody disputes turn ugly, when educational needs have not been identified and met, when placed in foster care and forgotten, with mental health needs that have been unaddressed for years, while experiencing poverty, homelessness, abuse, neglect, when silenced by exclusion and discrimination and separated from their families. These circumstances lead them to the legal system, and they lead them to us. But the courtroom should not be a place of solution to meet children's needs. The legal system itself is just a symptom of years of systemic failures, of causes not being addressed within the community, and of not providing resources and services to children, leaving as the only option the legal system to intervene in a child's life. We stand beside them in this legal process. And while we have the expertise and the skills to address the legal issues, that is not our only focus. We are also experts in treating the whole of the child. To fully protect their rights and well-being, we need to address all areas of their life with the goal of setting a new, more stable foundation so that their lives can be filled with hope and that they never again set foot in a courtroom. So Hannah, I know these past few weeks have been incredibly busy for you, and I want to congratulate you again on I Am Queen Charlotte. It was such an amazing performance.
Thank you.
And in all that amazingness and busyness, you still found time to hear our stories of our children. all of my coworkers submitted stories of the children to Hannah to be able to share in the development of a new and never heard before poem that she has created for us, specifically about the children that we serve at council.
Yeah.
Will you share your journey and the poem with us?
I will. So your coworkers and you all sent me these, what could have easily just been like case notes, but that's not, and I've worked in spaces before, I don't want to act like I've done the work that y'all have done, but where I worked for state government and I had to keep case notes, and they were the bane of my existence. And if someone would have asked me for like this poem that this person is going to write, will you send over like some of your thoughts? I would have hit copy paste, and that's exactly what I would have sent. That is not what you or your coworkers sent. You all sent these really beautifully thought out comments about the children that you are blessed to work with. You sent some of your hopes for what our future can look like. You shared the stories of some of the experiences that they've had, and it really was just breathtaking to see the care that goes into this work. And I wanted to write something that really honored that, and I've sat with this for a while. I just finished this piece today. What I hope to share is something that feels like it is for the children through the eyes of the people who serve them. I thought a lot about just the notes that were given to me, and just even some of the young people in my life who I know have been in the system. And anyway, hopefully you all can see this as not me seeking to be your voice, but to give voice to how much you love these young people. Thank you all who sent emails for sharing that with me. And this piece is called Worthy. Yours is a story that isn't spoken widely or consistently enough. And it is quite possible that the narrative that has been written over your existence by those without the ability to truly see and understand you isn't often written or spoken with that personal kind of touch that uplifts and understands, that comforts and demands that the world see you as we see you, that requires that they trust and honor and believe you. For we know that you have often found yourself caught in the middle, toggled between the worlds of the adults who have been charged with the responsibility of your care. We see that you have been wedged in between the impossible of being forced to grow up at a pace too swift for your mind to comprehend, for your young body to bear. We see the environment around you that should be the space to nurture and ground you that has sometimes failed you, forgotten you, walked out on you. Yet we are amazed at the many tiny and magnificent ways that you have simply gotten through, found your way around, found your way in. We see you fighting a battle internally and externally, a battle that might often seem inconquerable, but we know that you can and you will win. We see you falter on the path, but we watch you get up and begin again and again and again and again and again. And that resilience that you have learned to grab hold of and pull from on the difficult days, that shows up through the challenges, that helps you move through the pain, it has served you when it needed to, has given you the tools that you need to survive. But it is our job to create a world around you that isn't always about pushing through the pain, that gives you space to be a carefree child, experiencing all of the beautiful things that it takes to feel free and alive. Exploring your dreams and planning for your future, feeling safe and secure. You deserve family and community that opens itself up to you and realizes that you are worth fighting for, worth holding on to, spending time with, worth listening to. You are worth making the climb with. You are worthy of every second that we spend together, worth every laugh and inside joke that we make. You are worth reading to and learning from, worth quiet moments that we share, and worth the time that it takes to speak up on your behalf, to require that you have all that you might need, to show up and represent you when you've made a mistake, to stand in for you when others walk away or might choose to leave. And we will continue to work for you, to create a world that you deserve, that welcomes and holds on to you, that listens to your story and hangs on your each and every word, that celebrates your milestones, your magic moments, and your accomplishments, that creates space for you to be human, lose your way a little bit, and find your way back again. And we hope that you will remember that you are worthy of the greatest life that you can ever think to imagine. You are worthy of a life filled with purpose, of a heart full of happiness. You are worthy of family and friendship and success and love. And as long as you remember that you are worthy, we will continue to fight for you and your life and all of the beautiful things that you can think to dream of.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And you just finished that this morning?
Yeah.
So amazing.
This afternoon.
I thought I saw you finishing it when
It was about 3:45 p.m.
Absolutely beautiful. And there is so much to admire about our children, their will to live, their capacity to forgive, and the resilience that they show every single day. And they have a keen understanding of the importance of supporting each other. The first thing that we ask our children when we meet them is, what do you need? And more often than not, their response is, please don't ever let this happen to my brother, my sister, my best friend, my neighbor. Even when their trauma is heightened, their first instinct is to help somebody else. And that is the power of our children. So Hannah, you came to our staff meeting in January, and it was absolutely amazing. You had written a poem about our family of advocates. And there was something so powerful that you said while we were all talking that has really stuck with me, that I think is a great introduction to the next poem that Hannah will read. But you said, in telling the story of this important work and in the importance of our children, that we need to share these stories through the people that actually do the work, that serve the children, that in these spaces that nonprofits hold, we need to honor the privacy of the lives of the children and the clients that we serve. And we can't ask them to be on display to tell their own stories. So we tell the story through the advocates that serve them. And I just thought that was so powerful.
Thank you. I truly believe that. So the work that I do in the world, even through poetry, is just storytelling. And something that I'm always aware of is like, whose story is this to tell, right? And oftentimes I am trying to remind people to sort of stand in their own power and speak their story, right? But with children, especially children who are already vulnerable, pushing a camera in front of them to raise money or to like have a news story or whatever does more harm than it does help. Like, can you remember when you were 15 or 12 or even 11, what you would have said? Like, I used to run this open mic night, and there was this young guy, he was like 17, he came every week. And I thought he was a brilliant poet. And after he went to college and he was about 23, he sent me relentless text messages like, please take those videos off of YouTube. No one was looking at them, but he's like, I have grown. I am so different now. You know?
Right, right, absolutely.
And so what I believe is not that you all are their voice. They have their own voice. But in telling and sharing and speaking your stories, you give light to their experiences. And that just matters so much. Yeah.
I loved that. Will you share your poem with us?
I will. And this is specifically something that was written for all of you who are doing this work every day. And I wrote it from the vantage point of the fact that you have been also doing it during a global pandemic. Some people got a break, right? Like was able to like be at home and have a break. But for a lot of folks, especially folks who work in our community, that was not an option. And so this is not only to honor the work that you are doing, but the work that you have done when the world has really broken open in so many ways. And it's called The Children Will Say. One day, the children will speak your story. They will mark their time, count their moments by the moment in time that you showed up for them. That you showed them what dedication and love and belief in them could feel like. They will speak the stories of the people who held on through their own pain and through worldwide misery and agony to them. Who in the middle of a storm that seems like it might not ever end, remembered them, fought for them, showed up to work for them. They will tell your story, will sing your praises. Through anecdote and allegory, they will paint a picture of your faces, of your actions. They will remind the world that in the midst of catastrophe, you happened. You walked through the doors with arms wide open and said, "Use me." You said, "I am here to do the work that I was born to do with intentionality, with courage, with conviction. I am here to advocate for you. I am here to listen. I will show up on your behalf and I will challenge this system because you are worth it. You are worth going above and beyond for. You are worth going in and through, for I will give of this my talent and resources because I believe in the beauty of you. Because there is promise in our youth, purpose in who you are now and who you are to become. This is how we fight for our future, and this is how I show radical, community-centered love. Yes, they will share your story one day. Tell those in their world about the many ways that you showed up. They will speak about the life-changing advocates who did more than their fair share, who were never okay with good enough, who helped to change the trajectory of their lives, who created a space for their humanity to be seen, who worked through often impossible situations and circumstances, who stood beside them in the storm and encouraged them to dream, to believe. And there might be days when you face the end of the day and believe that you didn't do enough to close the gap, to change the world, to inspire others to fight back. That even in your greatest work, when you've given all that you can, your absolute best, life is still complicated and sometimes our communities are still a mess. And there will be days that you have given everything and everything still feels insignificant. Like a tiny step walking the long road towards freedom and healing. But the truth of the matter is every grand gesture and every little bit of it that you give for the sake of the children, they feel it. They crave it and they will not forget. The people who never gave up on them when the world was stressed, when hearts were broken, when times were hard. One day they will speak your story with positive recollection and joy and gratitude. They will remind the people that all we really got is each other. They will remind the world of people like you.
We all, I think I can speak for all of my coworkers, have listened to that numerous times, and it provides such healing and such comfort, especially on those days where you feel like you haven't given enough. And so I just want to thank you so much for all of your poems tonight, but for taking such an interest and a love for what we do and for who our children are, and for bringing all of this tonight to share with us.
Thank you for having me. You all are stuck with me now.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. We're family.
I love that. we're really honored and humbled to serve our children, and we couldn't do this without all of you that are here in person and online. You are the community that we need to continue our legacy and to demand that Charlotte will be different for our children. So thank you all for being here and making our work possible. I would like to invite Deb Hanna, our incoming board chair, to come up and join us.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. Most people who got up here at this point of the program would probably start off saying how intimidated they feel following. But I'm not going to say that,
Right.
because I am grateful. Because you have inspired the collective soul of the people here and the people online. And for what my part of the program is, I am grateful because it helps me reach the people I need to reach. So, thank you.
Thank
I am
you.
grateful.
Yes.
I would like to say welcome on behalf of all of us who are so privileged to serve on the board of directors of this incredible organization. First couple of things I took away from your poems. First, when you said that beauty is complicated, and that really struck a chord with me, and particularly from our city's perspective.
Yeah.
But then I thought, there's one thing that doesn't seem complicated to me about our city, and that is if we truly would commit to put children first. That's not complicated.
Yeah.
That's a simple thought to me. Is if we put children first, we will move along the pathway toward the destiny that you have inspired us to become.
Yeah.
So I am so grateful for that message. I also couldn't go very far along in my comments without another observation, a more worldwide observation. I don't know if all of you have picked up on the fact that the colors of our organization are very close to the Ukrainian colors. And I'm sure you've been watching the news and feeling my sadness and frustration. And it is the pictures of children that
50% of them.
literally break my heart. And so I couldn't stand here today and talk to you about the children of Charlotte without at least acknowledging the sadness of the challenge that the children in Ukraine and so many other places in the world are undergoing. And I often think, I don't know about you, but I often think looking at that I feel sad, and then I feel frustrated because I think I don't know what to do about that. I can't go solve that. We can solve at least some of this. We can solve the fate of the children of Charlotte that need us. And so my role in the program is to do what many of us don't like to do. I do not like to do it, and I do it rarely, but I do it for issues and challenges and organizations and people that I care about. So I'm here to ask you to not only open your awakened soul, but to open your wallets. Because we cannot continue to do this work without your financial support. We have tremendous volunteer support, of which we are so grateful. We have incredible staff that do this work. I can't begin to tell you about them. But we can't do it without money. And so I'd like you to consider giving all you can to the council. Some people ask, well, how much? Well, whatever you can give. And all is appreciated. It averages about $1,200 an hour, frankly, to service kids because these issues and cases are very complicated. Our core value of children first is not complicated at all. Acting on that gets incredibly complicated. And so for some of our cases, an hour's consultation may potentially resolve the problem, but for some, it's several years of work with a child. And so we need your help. I will tell you, I also don't ask people to give money to things I don't do myself. And so our family, my husband George is here with me tonight, our family has supported this work for over 25 years. Because we believe, well, I appreciate that, but the reason for my telling you that is that I don't ask people to give to things that I'm not prepared to do myself.
Yeah.
And so we have seen the value of this work in all its forms for a very long time and have not swayed from it. So I'm asking you from one supporter to another, if you'll reach down and do the same for us tonight. I would tell you that the other reason that we give is we're fortunate enough now to have kids and families and 7 grandchildren. And so when I think about children first, I think about, and they're not, even as a grandparent typically says, my grandchildren are perfect. They really are not. In so many ways. But if they stumble, the support structure they have to pick them up and carry them along is something that frankly they probably take for granted because it's there. It's just there. The kids that we serve through this organization, they can't count on that. All they can count on is this organization, these incredible people, and you. So I'm asking you to be inspired, be courageous in your giving, and help us do this incredibly important work online or in the old-fashioned paper packets in your chair. And if you think about it and you're not quite sure how to give, call me, call the agency, and we will help you figure it out because we need your help because children should be first. They can be first if we all collectively make them first. So thank you very much.
Apologize for my coughing. Well, we want to close this evening tonight in reflection and in honor of our children. And I would love for my coworkers to come up to the front, all of you, please. Want me to pull this back? So I am really grateful. You can go over here. Really grateful for my coworkers to come up here. This is a very special way that we want to end the evening by holding a vigil for our children. You all have a candle on your chair or maybe underneath your chair at this point. If you will grab that candle and join in with us, there's a little button at the bottom. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us as we honor our children. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing. No, you stay. If you want to, you can go somewhere else if you don't want to.
We'll stay together.
So when Heather mentioned that she was going to do a vigil for our children that we represent as well as the children community, I actually volunteered to do this portion of it and to do the moment of silence, which everyone up here would probably tell you is very contrary to my personality. But the reason is because the defense team does suffer significant blows in terms of losses. And as all of you know, the loss of one child is too many for our community. Over about a 12-month time period, the defense team alone lost 9 of the young people that we work with, and that is just our team alone. 9. And of course, with each loss of a child to our community, we lose their hope, we lose their strength, we lose their power, and we lose their voice. But that's not all that we lose. We lose what they could have and would have been for us. Every single day, I tell the young people that we work with that they will be great, that they will do great things, and we lose that when we lose them. It is our next generation that we hold the closest to us. Their generation is a generation we hope will finally get it right. It's their generation that we lean into, hoping that they will correct all of our mistakes. We need every one of them in order to make that happen. So tonight, when I call for a moment of silence, I know the names that are going to run through the minds of my team. I ask for all of you to hold in your hearts and in your minds all of the children that we have lost in our community. Please join me in a moment of silence and in a moment of remembrance. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you all will please keep on your candle as we honor the journey and the life of all the children we serve by recommitting the promises that we have for them.
We honor the courage our children have to speak their truth, and we strive to always amplify their unique and powerful voices.
We affirm the vision our children have for their own future and the future of our community.
We give children a voice to empower them to recognize their worth as an individual, also as a productive member of our community.
We create space for our children to share their unique stories, and we stand with them to support their individual needs.
We will honor the promise of you, the purpose in who you are and who you are to become. We will fight for your future.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for showing up tonight and providing the financial support that is vital to creating the change that we hope for our children in this community. And as you leave tonight, if you'll please join us in lighting the way by placing your candle within the hope letters at the front of the room. And as you drive home tonight, please don't forget to look at the skyline and look at the Bank of America building and the Wells Fargo Duke Energy Center, lit in honor of our children and their futures. Thank you all. If we could give another round of applause for Hannah.
Thank you.